How to know you're not liked in the neighborhood for parking. It's not like he doesn't have any space behind him.
Hey, it's Becky. Today I'm going to share my cargo van build, optimized for my needs in and around New York City. I got this old Ford E350 in 2020. Since then, I've been customizing it to comfortably carry everything I might need on the road, including 2 motorcycles and a dog or 2. I'll take you through all the upgrades I've made, including installing a rear bench seat, fixing the rusty floor, making my own custom storage solution, and what I pack inside. The essential accessory I had to add right away was a backup camera. I parked this thing on the street. The one I got has an RF transmitter in the camera circuit and an RF receiver in the screen unit, so I didn't have to run a wire the length of the vehicle. I just had to wire the camera into the backup lights at the back end of the van and plug the screen into a 12-volt port at the dashboard. This video is sponsored by Digikey, where you can get all types of electrical tools and other goodies I use in my van. Their selection is enormous and they ship super fast. Check out more info about the supplies I used in my van build at the link in the description, and don't miss my intro to electronics series on the Digikey channel. The next most pressing issue was the rusty floor. Well, I'm not totally certain about this van's history. I do know it's from Vermont, and if you look at the side just right, you can see the faint outline of an organic market decal, I think anyway. So I think it was a grocery van and that it saw lots of wet food inside and also had some seasonal snow damage. So the floor had a hole basically that had rusted through, and then the water that gets kicked up was absorbed into the mat, spreading the rust problem further. So I set the mat aside to dry, and I took off as much of the surface rust as possible with a wire brush on a drill. Then I followed the POR 15 4-part process, including the cleaner degreaser, the metal prep, then their famous rust treating and rust preventative coating, which I also applied to an extra piece of sheet metal before gluing and riveting it to cover the hole. The final step is a top coat of paint, which protects the rust coating from UV damage, even though most of it would be under the mat. I'm not trying to say this is perfect, but it should at least prevent the floor from dropping out anytime soon. Another pressing upgrade was the back seat installation. It's one of the things that satisfy the passenger vehicle registration requirement in my state, and it's great for toting an additional person and belting in the dogs. It acts like a bulkhead to separate the cargo area from the passenger area. I bought a used seat from Craigslist and we installed the brackets onto the floor of the van. The front area doesn't have any rust, and we made sure to go through an extra reinforced area of the floor, not just a single layer of sheet metal. So this thing is super solid and heavy, and it comes out when I need to use the extra space. When the seat is out, I put up a cargo net bulkhead instead to protect the front cab from stuff in the back. This is the newest addition. This is the picnic pack. We've got these plastic wine glasses that we didn't want to throw away. And so I put a wine key and some disposable silverware in there. And now we're ready at a moment's notice for the fancy picnic. Priorities, am I right? We also have a picnic blanket in the van. Andy said, "Picnic? Did you say picnic? Will there be sandwiches?" So riding in the van is loud. I've been slowly installing some vibration dampening sticky film to the walls of the van to make it a little quieter. But it takes a lot of elbow grease to install this stuff because it has to be pressed hard with a metal roller, which also has to be done when the air is like above a certain temperature. So I've been slow to make progress on that project, but each new piece seems to make a pretty big difference. The next major upgrade is this custom canvas organizer bag. I made this by arranging all the things I wanted to keep in the van at all times on the fabric on the floor, and then creating pockets that fit all the things. I put a vinyl window in some pockets to make things easy to find, like the first aid kit, and I attached the storage bag to the interior wall of the van using sheet metal screws. It has a big zipper compartment on the bottom that sits on the floor and stores heavier and bulkier items. And I'll put the list of all the essentials I keep in the bag in the project write-up linked in the description. With all this good stuff and occasionally cargo left overnight parked on the street, it was only a matter of time before something happened to the van. And I'll tell you about 2 sometimes that happened. The first one is the graffiti tag on the side of the van. plain white cargo van is perhaps the second most common vehicle here besides like a taxi cab, but a tagged white cargo van comes across as like a few levels more sketchy. It could be worse. The tag could be worse though. The other thing that happened was one night I forgot to lock the door and the bunch of stuff was stolen from the bottom compartment of the van bag. This inspired me to get working on some secure storage inside the van so that if I'm forgetful of, again, the most expensive stuff is protected by one more layer of inconvenience. Seasonally, I'll keep some larger things in the van like the motorcycle ramp and some traction helpers, and of course the normal stuff, the ice scraper and snow sweeper. If you watch this far, then you probably want to hear more details about the pain points of the van and how we use it. For one, it gets improper registration tickets occasionally. No, this ticket's not staged. I bet. What do you want to bet? This ticket is for improper registration. This ticket is for improper registration. Damn it. No porthole window. Oh, this one's going to get thrown out. I know from past experience. The other annoying issue came up because I found out the hard way that the dashboard power outlets are always on even when the van is off. So I left the backup camera plugged in and it killed the battery, and then driving on the bad battery killed the alternator, and then eventually we had to have the dash instruments replaced to fix the chain of charging issues that ensued. So that was several $100s later. Now I don't use those dash outlets anymore and had power run from the ignition circuit to power the FM transmitter and the backup camera and like the phone chargers. So it cannot happen again. That's all there is to report so far. Thanks for coming along on this tour of my humble cargo van. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. I hope you'll subscribe with the bell to be notified of my future uploads, and subscribe to my email newsletter and find me on your favorite social media platforms. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This video was made with support from my sponsors and generous donations from viewers like you through Patreon and YouTube memberships.